शैवं नेत्रम् अनुग्रहाय जगतो मूत्रैध उद्योतते। बुद्धादित्या द्युतिविकसिता सरोजन्मे रसयति परिमलम् असारसंसार वासना शान्ते।
Entering into the first chapter, which is the dialogue of the Devi with Shiva on the eye. And so that you have some visual experience also, I have just given us some samples, examples of the Trinetra from different contexts, but mainly also in the area of Kashmir, Nepal, And of course, yeah. Let me just give you some indication what it all means. So this Ekamukha Shivalinga. Should I take the knife? Afterwards, when you're in the break, you can come closer and look at it more closely. There's an Ekamukha Shivalinga with a very clear third eye from Kashmir of the 7th century. So it's around the time of our text. 6th, 7th century is our text, and so this is absolutely fitting, this very well-preserved Shivalinga. Then you have a mask of Bhairava from Nepal. Bhairava, not only Bhairava as the fierce form of Shiva, but also our Netra Tantra, with the iconography and with the forms, the ritual, which is described in the Tantra, which is not preserved now in Kashmir, but in Nepal it is. And these masks of Bhairava, they have a very prominent third eye. Then this you have already seen. This is not a good, these are just prints, you know, so no good quality. And this is the mask of Bhairava in Varanasi. Lord Bhairava is a pillar transformed into a Shivalinga. And that pillar was originally an Ashokan pillar. Then it became a Shivalinga. It got the mask of Bhairava, so it is called Lord Bhairava. And it's one of the Ashta Bhairava in Varanasi. Then, and this is closer to Himachal and Kashmir, of course, and Alchi. Alchi, the painters of the Alchi monastery were Kashmiris. Of course, you have most of it is all Buddhist, but there's a lot of Shiva also. And the really extraordinary thing is that Prajna Paramita, she has a third eye. So I'm not going into any interpretation, but these are witnesses how this concept and this experience has spread definitely all over the Himalaya and all over the subcontinent and beyond. Then, of course, the Devi. This is Sankata Devi in Varanasi. She is, of course, she's a Durga. And again, mostly like in Himachal, it's just a mask which is worshipped. And behind the mask, of course, is a sculpture. And she has a very prominent third eye. And this is a painting, you have to look at it more closely when you get up. A painting of Bhuvaneshwari Devi. And she has, this is interesting because her ornaments, when we come to chapter 7 with the chakras and granthis and all these aspects of the subtle body, see these painters, they used a secret language. The innocent, look at it, just these are ornaments. But the initiate, he knows these ornaments touch all these chakras. So it goes up to beyond, what we call Dvadashanta. The crown is not just a crown. It is that beyond the Brahmarandra. And her third eye, and this is something I will clarify later with the text, but there is often a misunderstanding that this point, Agnya Chakra, whatever you call it, Bhumatya, this is not the third eye. Third eye in all the iconography is above. And it is not a chakra. So I'm saying this, but afterwards you will get the proof from the text. So it's very clear in the case of the Devi, because you have Bindu, Ardha Chandra, the Bindu, Ardha Chandra in the rise of the energy, and the third eye is beyond. And the third eye is not identical with any chakra. It is completely transcendent. That is why opening of the third eye is not opening of Bhumatya or Ajna chakra. This is a common misunderstanding, and the iconography shows it. And those painters, they meditated, and then they painted. So they knew what is in the subtle body. Then an extraordinary painting I discovered in Benares. Again, you have to come closer. It is 19th century, and you see how the tradition has lived on and hopefully still living on. And it is what I call Shiva Adiyogi. Shiva, who has all the nadis and chakras are drawn. And then his third eye, very clear, and beyond the Sahasrara Brahmarantra is the union of Shiva and Shakti. And this is actually what takes place as you rise in the yoga, in this yoga. So the union of Shiva and Shakti, and of course the two nadis which become one in the central nadi, Sushumna, etc. So it is represented here in a painting of the 19th century Benares. So this is the tradition, and if you, in between you find time, you can have a look. And then afterwards I may need the whiteboard again to write something. Now we will come back to our good tradition of chanting the verses which we read. So we don't only read, we chant them and then comment on them. So yesterday we already started with the beginning of chapter 1, but now you just listen and then you join. It's the same tune, and those who know a little Sanskrit, they can easily follow and join as we go along. And the text becomes more powerful if we chant it together, and then that understanding comes to a deeper level than only here.
How many?
Trita.
Just one?
Just first.
Last only?
First and second. First and second.
Rupamastaya Shaktiman Udbhavastiti Samharan Krishna Vishvasya Shaktita Vidatayo Namastasmai Shuddhamritamayatmane Shivaya Brahma Vishnisha Paraya Paramatmane.
Yesterday we said on the basis of the Mangala Charana, where only 3 of the 5 acts of Shiva were mentioned: Srishti, Siddhi, Samhara, creation, maintenance, and reabsorption. But actually we know that Shiva has 5 acts, and the 4th act is Tirudhana, or Vilaya, is veiling. So when we came out of the meditation room, Shiva had given us a good example of how he can veil his nature, and his nature, the whole universe is his nature. It was completely veiled. And the 5th act is Anugraha, grace, and the whole theology of Shaivism, any Shaivism, Shaiva Siddhanta or Kashmir Shaivism, is that that veiling is a kind of precondition of grace. It's not only psychologically, also we know that sometimes we are in a bad condition or we are depressed or something, and then when that positive, that grace comes, then everything is overcome. That is psychological level, but cosmically and theologically and spiritually, now we are concerned with the spiritual aspect. There is a phase, what the Christian mystics call the dark night of the soul, but that is that act of veiling of Shiva. And after that veiling comes grace. And the Netra Tantra, and as we have seen yesterday already from the text, it stresses again and again that Shiva is graceful, and the Devi addresses him as the one who creates wonder, so who can Vismaya Karaka. And we know that Vismaya also in aesthetics, it has an important meaning. In any work of art, it has to create Vismaya. So something new, something surprising, something wonderful. And that is why all our spiritual practice and understanding should have that aspect of Vismaya, something which is surprising, which is wonderful, and which is not anything routine-like. You know, in art also, when something becomes routine, it loses that charm and that beauty. And the same in spirituality. If you do your practice routine-like, then you lose that whole Vismaya beauty of Shiva, who is not only the great dancer, but also the great artist. So he creates that wonder. Now we proceed with chapter 1. And of course we have to be very conscious with time. So chapter 1 is important, but we cannot do it completely because our focus is on 7 and 8. But it is necessary as the whole theme of the Tantra, which is the I. Let us call it just the I. Now, we have already come to the point where Parvati on Kailasa, of course, we could recite that. We could recite from 3 to 8. Then you can read along, and those who don't know Sanskrit, you can also read the translation along. It is no problem. From 3 to 8, Kailasa.
Kailasa Shikaram Sinam Deva Devam Maheshwaram Kridamanam Ganaisaram Parvata Sahitam Haram Drishva Paramuditam Devam Paninam Hitakam Yaya Utsangatavati Yasu Padam Chakaha Parvati Papracha Paraya Bhaktya Santoshya Parameshwaram.
Then comes in between Shri Devi Vacha.
Bhagavan Deva Devesha Lokanatha Jagatpate Yadvaya Mahadascharyan Kritam Vishmaya Karakam Sarvasya Jagato Deva kintu me parameshvara, durvigniyam durasadam, rahasyam na prakashitam, kartikeyasya chanamne, nasureshu ganeshu va, yogeshvarinam matrinam, rishinam yoginam nahi, tad adyame jagannatha, prasanno siyadi prabho, tatayami prapanaham, nishesham vaktumarasi, vachasrutva prahasavadano bravir.
So the Devi is, I said, this is very symbolic, She is sitting in the lap of Shiva on Mount Kailasa in a kind of mythological picture. But when she gets out from his lap, she somehow separates. She separates herself from that total unity with Shiva in order to bring grace to the world. That little separation makes dialogue possible. It's very, you can again take it from psychology to mysticism. That if all is completely merged in one, then there's no communication, there's no dialogue, there's no dynamism. So that's why Parvati, Devi, she has to get a little out of that blissful union in order to ask the Lord for that secret. And that secret, here she doesn't define what is that secret. And that secret, actually, it will be told at the end of chapter 8. That secret will be only revealed when you have already practiced the subtle and the supreme yoga. So she does not say what is that secret. And those who have done the Vijnana Bhairava, again, the two things which are reminding us. The Tantra seems something very old and ancient and all. But in every of these dialogues, the Devi says to Shiva, today you tell me that secret. So today always remains today. It's also our today. Today is always today. It's not like in some of these accounts of mythological past, in the beginning and so on. No, today. And anything which has to do with yoga, with spiritual experience, it has to be in this today. And our question to Shiva has to be today. And the answer will come today. So this is that overcoming of time also, because today has actually no time. Like the moment, there's no time. And one of the whole purposes of this Tantra and of this yoga is the overcoming of, yes, we said overcoming of death, but overcoming of time. And here, most of you know Sanskrit, Kala. Kala means both. Kala means time and it means death. So that's why in my translation I have often written transcending time / death. Transcending time and transcending death is one. So we are going to learn this from the text because again and again Mṛtyujit, Mṛtyunjaya and Kalajit, the one who the vanquisher of time. The what enslaves us. It's not space, and that's interesting, the whole of Indian psychology. Space does not enslave us, but time enslaves us. time, of course, in the sense of the moment, and that the Buddhists have a kshana, and we also have kshana. The moment is not time. It's already the overcoming of time. So anyhow, I should not go too far into this, but it is so important for the whole background of what is going to follow. So then, the verses which you just recited, I think yesterday we read the translation, and we also came to that beautiful sentence that the Lord replied with a smiling face. And the interpretation of that smile, which arises out of, it's not just a very gentle smile, but a very powerful, explosive laughter, which arises out of an absorption in the Paranada, the supreme sound. So here, again, that revelation, what we said yesterday, that revelation comes down from that unmanifest and then through that supreme sound, this unmanifest, and then it comes down step by step until our language, which we have in the Tantra. Now, the Tantras which I have studied more thoroughly, and of course Vijnana Bhairava, many of you have also studied. The Devi, yes, she comes down one step from the unity with Shiva, but she knows, she is consciousness herself, Para Sambit, she is consciousness herself. So she knows all that. Why does she ask Shiva? She doesn't need, not for herself, but for the world, for the other, for the people. And then mostly, like in the Vijnana Bhairava also, in the beginning, the Devi already says all what she knows, and she have already those tantras and all the mantras and everything she knows. But yet, she wants that this theoretical knowledge, that is more in the Vijnana Bhairava, it should become practical. See, to experience that which we know. So we are in a similar position. We know a lot. We have read a lot. We know some Tantra and all that. And we have also practiced. But to bring that knowledge into actual experience, we need the divine help. And that is the revelation by Shiva. This is the revelation. Out of our own power, we cannot. And that is where also in the beginning it says again and again, in order to understand and to practice and to realize, you need Shaktipata, the descent or the divine power, that energy has to descend on you. And that is where then Shiva answers. And let us just recite verse 10. Kim Tim Vadasva Sushwani. 10. Kim. Kim Vadasva Sushwani Rahasyanti Hridistitam Sarvam Vakshyamya Sandeham Toshitoham Tvayatati. Whatever you say, and it's a very beautiful, somebody has remarked after reading the Netra Tantra, there's actually nothing about sex here in the whole Tantra. But Shiva addresses the Devi as Sushroni, one of beautiful thighs, one with beautiful thighs. So there's some erotic element is there. Now the importance of this was Rahasyam te hridistitam, that secret which is established in your own heart. I am going to reveal it to you fully, because I am satisfied with you. Now, that rahasya, that secret, that mystery which I'm going to reveal, it is already established in your own heart. And here we get in the language of the Tantra. Of course, Tantra has also language of narration, you know, that Shiva and Shakti and Parvati and Kalas and all that. But in that language of Tantra, it actually says what is prativijñā. So the whole philosophy of Kashmir Shaivism is prativijñā, recognition of what you already are, what you already have. So it's not of something, some foreign, some God in heaven or some foreign element, something, but that which is already established in your own heart. This is so beautiful. And of course it's the Devi, but we are all in that position. I mean, he addresses this revelation to all of us, and that secret is not some foreign secret, but that which is in our very own heart. Rahasyanti hridisthitam. It's just that one sentence. It shows that the philosophy is philosophy of recognition of what you are. Sarvam vakshyami, and I am going to reveal this to you fully, because I am satisfied with you. And then the Devi picks up okay, we can recite 11 and 12. Okay. Bhagavan Deva Devesha Chirashcharya Pavataka Asharyam Idrisham Ramyam Nashutam Tat Srinomyaham Vibho Prasanna Vadanana Paramananda Karaka Amatsmasya Bhaganam Kataniyam Tvayamama. O Lord, Lord of the gods, revealer of the manifold wonder, I will listen to that unheard, blissful wonder of surprise. O all-pervasive one with a pleased face, creator of supreme bliss, O Lord, tell me that secret without holding anything back. She is admonishing him. Don't hold any secret back. But if you talk to your guru, don't hold anything back. I want everything. I want the whole truth. And then comes the whole question of the I. So far, there was no question of the I. It was only about the secret, that rahasya. Now, her question is more specific. We can recite that all this whole thing up to 13 to 20. Can we do that? You try to join, huh? Chakshusarvatra drishyate tasmat agnikatam raudra upanna kaladahaka yena vai krishnamastu Mṛtyujit vasmasagrita kim tadraudram kritam deva Vahikaladidakshaya Pajvaritam jagat sarvam Brahmadistavarantakam Kamastataiva nirdagdo Lilaya Parameshvara Krodha Netra Nalam Drishyate yanakasyachit kritam yadeva devena mahavishmayasarakam devamitantarivahir tatrite kasya drishyate kim vahnimayam chakshus Satkatam na vibhayate Yena chakshusha Krishnam Prasancha Jagatpati Sarvamritamayam Deva Jagatapyayase Shana Ramanandayase Deva Prasanmayaiva chakshusha amritakaravachuram jagatapyaryakarakam tasmat kalana pragya kuto vahni prajayate etat sarvam samasena Bhagavan Vastu Narvasi. So she becomes very specific in her question. And in the background is the myth, which is very well known, of Shiva burning Kamadeva, who disturbed him in his meditation. But here, the interesting thing is, it does not say Kama. She said, that fierce eye, which has burnt Kala Dahaka. It doesn't say Kama. The fierce eye which has burnt Kala. So Kala, as I said before, both time and death. So Kama becomes a kind of representative of Kala, of time and death, and everything which binds us, everything which... and this is quite rare, because normally it's say Kama Dahaka, who burnt Kama. So let us see the translation. O God, how come that the eye which sees everywhere and which is filled with water, how come, O fierce one, from that eye fire is produced which burns time, death? So the main question is that in the case of burning Kama, burning Kala, his eye became fiery, or was fiery. But both from the physiological and any other consideration, eye is watery. So her question concerns, in a way, the overcoming of opposites of water and fire, which are both in the eye. And the eye in general, but especially in the third eye. Because the third eye, well, we know even people can have a fiery look. I mean, that it's not absent on the human level. But in the third eye, it is both watery and fiery. And again, that overcoming of the that duality of the opposite elements, water and fire. It is also the aim of yoga. And we will come to all that in the yoga chapters. Overcoming, and that's why the universe is sometimes described by the Tantra as also Agnisomatmaka. It is consisting of the complementary, we don't say opposing, complementary elements which are watery and fiery. And that is the very composition of the universe has those elements of water and fire. But now that she asks, how come that this eye, which is actually made of water, has that power of burning color? And here I tell you, in bracket, the Swachanda Tantra which is not here, interestingly. Swachanda Tantra has a question of the Devi where she asks Shiva from where Ganga has sprung. And Shiva says, from the water of my eyes. Netra Tantra. The water of the eyes is tears, are the tears. But then Kshemaraj in his commentary immediately says, Ananda Asru, from his tears of bliss. So it's very beautiful. There's only the Swachanda Tantra brings that. The Ganga is born from the tears of bliss of the Lord. So this watery element, and then the fiery element which he applies in burning kala and kama, of course. The eye, which by merely looking at him reduced, kama is here, of course, Mṛtyujit. It's not Mṛtyujit. To ashes, oh God, what is that ferocity which appears as the fire of time or death? That fire which has ignited the whole world, from Brahma to the immovable, by which, O Supreme Lord, you have playfully burnt Kama himself. O Lord, the fire of the wrathful eye, which is not seen by anyone, which becomes the creator of great wonder by the God of gods. O God, that fire within the eye, can it be seen by anyone besides you? Is that eye made of fire, and how does it come about? O Lord of the universe, that eye through which everything flows forth, which is made entirely of the nectar of immortality, by which you fill the universe in a moment. Now the Devi, already she knows that his eye, his third eye, is not just ferocious to burn karma, but that it is made of amrita, it is made of nectar, and that nectar which fills the universe. So she already knows. She is not misguided by that this is the only story about the third eye. No. The reality of that third eye is, it is Amritamaya. It is full of nectar. And then she already experiences it, of course. Who else? It's the Devi who experiences. Oh God, you fill me with bliss by that delighted eye which produces the nectar of immortality, which is beautiful and is the nourisher of the whole universe. This verse 19 is very important. Jagat apyaya karakam. Now, yesterday you got these tables, and don't be confused because we only refer to one table at a time, so don't look at all. There is one, the three eyes and their qualities, table 2, where the three qualities either of the three eyes or of the one eye. And this is left open at some place in the first chapter. That one eye which contains all the powers, or the three eyes. So these three eyes, the middle one is burning, of course, in burning, especially in the case of burning kala, burning karma. Then the right eye is illuminating, prakashaka, and the left eye is nourishing or fulfilling. So the three eyes of Shiva, they fulfill these functions of nourishing, enlivening, apyaya. Now, apyayana is a very beautiful word. It has to with the root P, or not drinking also, and filling with life, life-giving, fulfilling, nourishing, and the right eye they have here is illuminating. So enlightenment comes from the right eye. Now, of course, there are different contexts. In another context, it is the middle eye, of course, which is illuminating, which is enlightening. But here, it is the three eyes are given those functions. And then it comes the association with the moon, the nourishing, apyayana, with the sun, the illuminating, that's quite logical, and with fire, the burning, is quite logical. So these three symbols for the three eyes, which are then, they are very universally used in the tantras. The three luminaries and dharman, three dharman. Those who know Sanskrit well, dharman also means a luminous abode. So this means the abode or that sphere of operation of these three eyes, which are like the moon, moon-like, sun-like, and fire-like. Just keep it and then we will come back to that. And again, what I said in the language of the Tantra, which is also narrative language, you get the same insight what you have in the Upanishads. The eye, no, who can see the seer of seeing, and the eye of the eye is the ear of the ear and the eye of the eye. So it is only Shiva himself who can see that eye, and it cannot be seen, it can only be the seer. And that is the whole, whether it's Upanishads or Tantra and non-duality everywhere, that it is not the seen, but the seer. The eye itself, it is the seer. And in the end, then Devi says, therefore, that which is called the fire of time, death, from where is that fire produced? All this, O Lord, please reveal entirely to me. And then Shiva starts his answer. As I said yesterday, in the general style of the Tantras in the dialogue, the Netra Tantra stands out by a very lively dialogue. Not only that the Devi already knows, and then she says, Shiva, you please reveal this completely. I know something, but I don't know everything, so you only can reveal it completely and all that. But she picks up the thread again. She picks up the thread of the dialogue, and this is something very unique in comparison to other tantras which are more formal, Devi asked, Shiva answered, and the whole tantra goes on with Shiva only, without Devi. Now we recite Sri Bhagavan Uvacha, there's 21, 22, 23. Wow, this is too long. 21, 22, and 23.
Kautuhalavishta Prichasyeta Shrinu Priye Yanme Netrantarivahnyu Yadvamritammanutamam Tatsarvam Katayishyami Yoga Yuktya Shrinu Priye Yasvarupam Nijam Shuddham Vyapakam Sarvatomukham Sarvabhutantaravastam Sarvapranishu Jivanam Yogadamyam Durasadam Dushapama Kritatmabhi.
These are very, very important verses. First of all, the condition for receiving that revelation, that there should be an intense longing to know, intense curiosity. And this is attikautula. Attikautula avishta. You are pervaded by intense curiosity. Curiosity means not that superficial one, of course, but intense desire to know. See, unless you have that intensity, you will not receive that reply, that revelation. Listen, my beloved, you who ask, being possessed by intense curiosity, that fire which is within my eye and which is the supreme nectar of immortality, all this I will reveal to you together with the practice of yoga. So listen, my beloved. So here immediately, first of all, Shiva can immediately identify the fire and the water and the nectar. So it's already a union of opposites. And then he says, I reveal it to you, but yoga yuktya, along with the practice of yoga. And this reminds us of the Vijnana Bhairava, where again the Devi had studied all those tantras and knew all those mantras and so on. But she did not have the experience. So here also, that revelation can be only complete if you combine it with practice. Yoga yuktya. And this is the starting point where then that yoga will be revealed in those chapters 7 and 8. And yoga yuktya. And 22. That innermost essence which is one's own, pure, pervasive, present everywhere, that is the life of all living beings, established within all elements, and can be attained by yoga, although it is difficult to reach and hard to attain by undisciplined souls. Now here comes, in every spiritual teaching or every shastra, you have what we call adhikara. See who is qualified, who is capable, who is permitted, etc., to receive that. And in many cases, these qualifications, they are very social. We have to have the right caste, the right gender, the right status in life, be a sannyasi or something. But here, there's only one condition to receive that revelation, and that is, it is said in negative terms, dushprapam akritatmabhi. It is difficult to attain by those who have not worked on their own self, who have not disciplined their own self, who have not. Kritatman is one who has. It's difficult to translate. How did I translate? Undisciplined souls. I mean, by discipline, we have a very external idea sometimes, but it is Kritatman. There are people who just live without thinking about, without reflecting on their own self, or without developing. Or maybe the word develop would be better. Those who have not developed their self, and their self not in a Vedantic sense of Atman, not at all. This self with which we are working, with which we are practicing. Akritatma. So this is just very hinted just in one word in the whole text, that what is required, that you have to do some work with your own self. Kritatma, be Kritatma. And that is the only condition. And then it can be attained by yoga. So this, instead of mentioning here yama, niyama and all that, but they say you have to be Kritatman and then practice yoga. Yeah. So you already have to develop. You cannot start, some people want sudden enlightenment and start from the top, and you have not developed the base. So, and this is very essential. So I'm taking this more in detail because this is really the basis for the yoga chapters, and very much connected with the third eye. But you see, the Tantra doesn't speak a language like we want to have such logical sentence that if you practice this yoga, then your third eye will open. It's never said like that. But it is implied. It is implied. Because it's all a question about the eye. And then he says you can attain it by practicing yoga. And if you have already developed your own self. So this is the consequence of this. What Shiva himself says about. So he answers to the Devi. He says everything is all right what you have said. But what I am giving you now is this practice to realize it by yoga yuktya. And it is understood in the Tantric language, sarva bhutantara avastam sarva pranishu jivanam. That svarupa, that essential nature, which is pure, which is pervasive, and which is the life of all living beings. So this is very important, and this is connected with the eye. Sarva pranishu jivanam, that is the life of all living beings. And your practice of yoga has to bring you in unison with that which is the life of all living beings. It's very beautiful, and expressed in such a brevity, but clarity for those who know, for those who seek. And then he goes on extolling. I think it will be taking too much time to recite the whole. As if he's shifting from the I to that power, which is that one's true essential nature, svarupa, and that which is the life within all living beings. What should we do? well, can we continue 24 to 30?
Svaviryam
Yasamviryam
Mamaiva
Paramam Padam Tatviryam Sarvaviryanam Tatvai Balavatam Balanam Tat Uchas Sarvam Shashvatam Hyachalam Dhruvam Samamecha Parashakti Shakti Yukta Svabhavacha Vahne Ushmina Vidneya Rashmi Rupa Raviriva Sarvasya Jagato Vahi Svashakti Karanatmika Sarvajnati Gunashatra Vyakta Vyakta Samstita Saivicha Jnana Rupacha Kriyati Guna Vismrita Jnanadishat Gunatiti Tatasta Prabhavanti Savai Mahakriya Rupa Samstitai Kakriya Mata Animadi Gunanastau Karoti Vikaroti Sa Evam Mamitsha Jnanakya Shriyakya Shaktir Uchyate Suryat Chandrama Sauvagnis Tridharma Parikalpana Trinetra Kalpana Mayam Tadatam Iha Drishyate. Now, this is very important. What Shiva, the step he takes in his answer to the Devi, is that he shifts the emphasis from the I, her question about the I, to the power. And then he leads her and us to that identity of the I, and the third I, with Shakti, with his power. And that is why it's very obvious that Shakti has the power to burn, has the power to produce nectar, to give bliss, and all the powers. And then there he derives the three energies, his three main energies, which then correspond to the three eyes that you have on that table, Icha Jnana Kriya, the three energies which are in correspondence with the three eyes. Already time? We are supposed to, yeah? I'm not conscious of the time. Up to 11. Oh yeah, tick it.
You burned the timeline.
We're burning the time. No, we can complete this. This is very important. This is really the entrance into the whole Tantra. See, in the beginning, the verse 24, where he plays with that prefix sva. Sva, is Atma, is self. And everything is sva, sva, sva. Svam svaviryam svasamvedyam mamema paramam padam tat viryam sarva viryanam tat vaibalatam balam. He starts praising that power of the self, one's own power of viryam, that which is one's own vital power, one's own awareness, svasamvedya. That verily is my supreme state. So he immediately takes the Devi, or the sign of a good guru is that he immediately takes you from your question to a higher level. The answer is completely higher level. And that higher level is his own state, paramam padam, his own supreme state. And that supreme state is nothing else but the power. And the different words for power are used, virya, bala, shakti, everything is power. That vital power, being present in all vital powers, is verily the strength of the strong. It is the shining vigor of all vigorous beings. It is all eternal, immovable, and firm. She, and now the gender shifts. It becomes she. Bala is masculine, Veera is masculine, but she. Now it becomes the Shakti. She is my supreme energy of will united with the energy arisen from my own nature. That is 25. Samamecha. See how he leads that whole question. The Devi herself is a Shakti, but she has placed herself at a lower level to receive that revelation. So Samamecha Parashakti. She is my supreme energy of will. She is to be known as the heat and fire and the rays of the sun. My own energy is of the nature of the cause of the entire universe. Now this relationship between Shiva and Shakti is, there are always three metaphors are used, mainly two, because the third one is a bit far away from Kashmir. She is the heat of fire and she is the rays of the sun. The third is the waves of the ocean, but the ocean is a bit far from Kashmir, so I think that is not so frequently mentioned. But it comes sometimes. But so the ocean is not different from the waves, and the heat cannot be separated from fire, and the rays cannot be separated from. And yet you can differentiate, but you cannot separate. So Shiva Shakti in that relationship of differentiation without separation. So she is my supreme energy. She is to be known as Yah. In her, omniscience and other qualities are present, and they are established both in manifest and unmanifest state. She is expanded as will, cognition, and activity. So here for the first time, Shiva says the three energies, three Shaktis, Ichcha, Jnana, Kriya. In a descending order, in manifestation, descending order from Ichcha, which he says his Parashakti. Those having 6 qualities, such as cognition, etc., are manifest being established in her. Considered as being established in one act, she is verily of the nature of great activity. So coming down to the level of Kriya Shakti. Being proclaimed as my energy called will, cognition, and activity, she creates and transforms the 8 yogic powers. So again, the connection immediately is made with yoga. The conception of the three luminaries, sun, moon, and fire, is the creative imagination of my three eyes, and the meaning of this is going to be shown here. Here in this verse 30, he made an excursion to the whole concept of Shakti and the different manifestations of Shakti. Now he comes back to the three eyes. And he says, Trinetra Kalpana Mahyam. Now, Kalpana is not something imaginary, but it is still, Kalpana is a kind of, if we have a negative idea of imagination, but imagination is also very powerful, something you create by imagination. So Kalpana is the whole source of creation. So in that sense, Trinetra Kalpana Mahyam Tat Artamiha Tashyate. So connecting these three, so it speaks of sun, moon, and fire, which are the three dharmans, the three luminous abodes, and which are connected in imagination with the three eyes. So that is what you have on the table. And that is going to be revealed here. And again, as we have seen, connected with, Swamiji has descended, connected with the three eyes and connected with the practice of yoga, yoga yuktya. I think this is a good point to have a break, and we will continue, of course, with the first chapter and try to complete as far as possible. And then you can keep your questions for the end of the next session. You just note your questions and we can come to that at the end.